Hello again, beautiful artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Skye. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Skye and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials here on YouTube every Saturday. So make sure to hit subscribe so you can join the fun and paint along. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. Alright, this week we are painting a really fun stained glass inspired lighthouse and gorgeous ocean scene. I'm going to take you through it every step of the way. I'm going to be using my 4 standard brushes that I use in most of my classes. The 4 that I use come in a kit with 4 sizes that I just so happen to love using. Your brushes don't need to be the exact same size and shape as mine, but they should be the same general size and shape and meant for a water media. I have a large square 3/4 inch wash brush, and then I have 3 pointed brushes of varying sizes, just a size 10, a size 3, and a size 3/0. I'm also going to be using a trusty ruler today. Mine is transparent, yours does not have to be. The colors that I'm starting out for today are going to be all the colors that we're using in today's tutorial. It's going to be a little bit different than our usual background to foreground, still some of that as well, but we're going to space a lot of different areas out. We're going to use a lot of different colors. So I have some black and white, as well as some ultramarine blue and some violet. Then I also have a little bit of cadmium red, cadmium yellow, as well as some phthalo green. To see a full materials list of everything that I use and recommend, check the description box below. You'll find a link to my materials page on my website, which is Skye Pratt, my name, S-K-Y-E, don't forget the E, Pratt, P-R-A-T-T.com. And there's a link there to the materials page as well, or you can just go right to skyepratt.com/materials. And you'll see everything that I use and recommend. Let's go ahead and jump on in with our background step. We are starting a little differently than usual. So we're not doing a whole just background layer. We are going to do sort of like some sketching. If you wanted to use a pencil, I would think that for this painting especially, since we're going to be covering it with dark lines later, that using a pencil would be totally acceptable. I like to use brushes. I actually don't really like holding pencils that much comparatively to the way that a brush flows. And I think it's good practice too to get used to holding your brush. So I'm going to do some sketching with my brush, and I'm going to use sort of like a pencil color. So just a pinch of black into my white. I'm going to start with a very light gray. Now my gray is pretty light. Your gray could be even lighter. I want you all to be able to see what I'm tracing out here, but the lighter it is, the easier it will be to cover with color if you don't quite like where your sketch lines are at. So I'm going to start today's painting in a familiar way that we do for a lot of paintings, which is to create a horizon line. And I'm going to bring my horizon line, so I have my ruler here, I have it squared on the side. I have it about halfway, and I'm going to start over here on the right and go all the way to the left, or not all the way, but halfway. And so then I have a nice straight horizon line to work with, getting some straight lines to space everything out. And now I'm going to do something a little unique with creating my tower for my lighthouse, which is I'm going to start with 2 little hash marks at the bottom on either side of my ruler. Then I'm going to come down here and pick a random number, so I'm centering it here on 8 inches. And then you can see about how far it goes on either side. So this goes about 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch on either side. So I'm just going to bring it out a little further by a few inches, or a few, maybe like a ½ inch. And then another ½ inch over here. I'm gonna pretend like that's right there. Bring it out right like so. So now I have a couple different dots, and And I'm going to go from the top part of this ruler. I'm just using this mainly as a rectangular shape, and create a little floating line. And then I'm going to connect my dots, these outer dots. And I should get a very even tower shape. That is skinnier up top and wider down below. You can adjust it slightly. I think I want a little bit wider at the top. I cheated out a little bit on that side too. But you can adjust it a little bit. I always like to start smaller than I think I'm gonna go. That way this first line you can get down to sort of orient yourself. Then you can adjust it, but that looks pretty good to me. It's okay if you get a little bit of messiness picked up from your first sketch lines, because this will be completely covered with paint. All right, and I'm not a mathematician, so if there's a different way that's more logical to create your tower with your ruler, go for it. Just using the ruler as a tool. Then I'm going to continue that same horizon line all the way across the other side. Now that I know where my tower is going to go for my lighthouse. Okay, looking good. And then I think I'm probably gonna mostly wing the rest now that we have a nice horizon line and a straight tower. The rest can be pretty much by hand. I'm going to create another little rectangle on top of my tower, and feel free to use your ruler for this if you would prefer, but I'm just gonna wing it. And I'm just gonna create a little rectangle on top. I might do it a little taller. Like so. I guess it's sort of more of a square shape. That looks good. And then I'm going to give it a little hat. And sometimes for the hat, I like to start with a little dot. For any kind of triangular shape, can be useful to help center your triangle's point. And then we're just going to give it a cute little triangle hat on top. And this is just our first pass with these shapes. We will have another chance to straighten things out, a couple chances, because we're going to be filling them in with colors and then going over everything again with a dark outline color to mimic that beautiful stained glass effect that we're going for today. All right, right under or right behind or underneath and visually what's going to be behind my tower, I'm going to start building some clouds. And I want to build a big cloud all the way coming from this side down. And it kind of looks like a mountain shape, except for we're going to then come in and add curved lines for another big cloud section like so. So now we have a couple different sections of sky. So we're mimicking, again, that stained glass look. And I might even do one more little shape going that direction. You really can have it however you like, but whatever looks nice there. So we have different spaces for what would be different types of glass, which I've only done one time. It was so fun. I love doing other crafts too. So I was inspired by glass. My grandmother was a stained glass artist. She did a lot of really gorgeous pieces. She was very, very creative. It definitely runs in my family, lots of artists. Okay, and then I'm going to come over from this side and I'm going to create a gentle little slopey hill. That's going to be the green grass, which is sort of the little cape maybe around our lighthouse. And then we only have just one section left, which is the ocean section. So I'm going to leave the top part pretty thick. We're going to create another section of the ocean, and then I'm going to create a few more sections just to get a nice feel of waves and different parts. Again, thinking like a glass artist would. Okay, and I think maybe that's a little too big, so let's do one more gentle sloping section up here. Okay, and again, remember, we can adjust things as needed once we start filling in. Sometimes it's hard to see our composition at the sketch step, so we can always change things up a little bit as we're filling in our main colors, no problem. All right, and let's see, I want a few more lines though. I'm going to hold off on creating the stripes in the lighthouse for now, but I am going to do a little center line here and then come out in either direction so that I have another rectangular shape inside there, and that's going to make a lot more sense once I get things filled in. So no worries, it's a little confusing in this sketch step. Let's start filling in and things are going to make a lot more sense. So we're definitely going to want a larger brush for filling in, but I still want some control, so I'm going to use my medium-sized brush. And we're going to start from the top down, and I'm going to use a beautiful purpley blue color for the sky. And whatever colors you would like, really, for the sky, but just think sky colors. So pinks, purples, blues, probably not too dark. You know how I love the saturated colors. So you could do a night sky, maybe even. You can get creative. But I'm going for the bright colors today. And now as we fill this in, we want to think about the way that gorgeous art glass looks. And if you've never seen it, glass can look stripy, it can look solid one color, it can look kind of swirled, it can look this sort of soft blend. There's a lot of different ways that you can get glass to look, which is just so gorgeous. I was lucky enough to have taken a glass blowing class at one point too. You learn some of the ways of glass, although this would be, you know, solid pieces of glass making for your stained glass. But I want to create a little bit of variation in here, so I'm moving my brush all around, creating some nice texture in there, not one nice smooth piece. And the key here is that we're creating different textures, different colors. Not all the same. Okay, and I'm bringing that right out to my sketch line. And you don't need to worry too much about covering your sketch line, since we're going to cover these lines with our dark gray later, unless of course you want to change things up a little bit as you're filling in. Then you would want to cover your sketch line completely. Okay, let's do a slightly different color. I'm just going to go a little lighter and a little bit more blue. And I'm going to keep this sort of soft, fluffy texture in these cloud glass pieces. Thinking clouds. And if we're thinking clouds, we might as well add a little bit of white. This painting is all about these different segments and the slight color variation within them. Okay, let's mix it up a little more by adding some black, just a tiny pinch, because we want it to be more like gray. Okay, and I'm going to bring that into my right hand section. Again, you could be using different colors if you would prefer. Just thinking about like a stormy sky with our lighthouse guiding the way. That was my inspiration, so I can see a little bit of variation within my brush strokes. Gonna take it a pinch darker for this section here. Now this section is a little bit tighter in the filling in because we're going to have a part of our lighthouse that would be see-through. So my original painting, I tried just painting this whole rectangle yellow. I didn't like how it looked, so today we're gonna mix it up. And I'm gonna try a different way because lighthouses, the top part is glass and there's a light. So you can see through the glass part and it's not one solid yellow color. So let me start with this medium-sized brush, but I'm probably going to use a smaller brush once I get in this section. I'll show you guys what we're gonna do. Excuse my coughing. There is unfortunately wildfires in my area this time of year, and it is bothering me. But it is also monsoon season, so everyone use your thought power. Send the monsoons over to our dry southwest forests, please. But mentally, we're at the Cape. We're at the beach. We're enjoying a nice, foggy, crispy ocean breeze. All right, and smaller brush, same color. I'm gonna go in that small section. And I'm going to go on either side of what's gonna be the center part, which is going to be the light. We want to try to make it look the same texturally. So I'm really trying to color match and bring that same color and texture from behind, or right next door, right next to. Okay, so that same blue, purpley gray color. And that looks like a pretty close match. Great. And then for my last sky section, I like those colors. Those are looking pretty. I like this color over here, so I add some more of that, which was just kind of more on the light blue side with a touch of gray. All right. That looks good. It's a little bit messy still, and we're gonna just go with it because it doesn't matter. We're gonna come back in later and go right over all those first lines that we had once we are at that final step. But let's keep working our way down. And I'm going to mix up a very vibrant blue color. I think I'm gonna bring a pinch of green over into it as well, just for some variation in color. And for my clouds, I was thinking texture, keeping that brush moving. For the ocean part, in my mind, as a stained glass artist today, I would want smooth back to back, back and forth texture to get that wave look, that wave in the distance look. Back and forth, so maybe a little bit of white added in there, even if you're not getting a good blend naturally just from not over mixing your paints. You can always add some more color right on the canvas. And I might have to move my brush in the direction of the shape that I'm going around, but then I want to come back and add brush strokes right on top to get all the brush strokes going in the same direction. That's what's going to make things look nice and neat and tidy. And this is the name of the game, so take your time today. This is the most time-consuming step. Love that blue next to our purple. Such pretty colors. I did a stained glass piece like this. That was actually a fused glass art piece when I was living on the Oregon coast. Okay. Looking good. I'll just go a pinch lighter for my next step down, and maybe I'll add a pinch more green too, just for fun. Make sure that your blues are different enough so that they actually look like different parts of glass, different pieces. A little bit of water can also thin down your color rather than using white. That only works if you're doing a layer right on the canvas, of course. Okay. Working from the top down, getting these big sections filled in first. As neatly as we can. Okay. I'm not sure I like that cut off there. So I think I'm going to cover it. And I'm going to go back to something more similar to the top color. We'll get a little bit of stripiness. Looking good. Not worried too much about our sketch lines. Just working around them. We'll tidy things up later. All right. Nice smooth brush strokes. Long in the direction of the shape, not pushing down too hard. That's the key for graceful brush strokes, is gentle pressure. Okay. And I think a nice little bit of a seafoam color for our next layer will be nice. Want it to be a little different than the other colors we've added. Pretty similar in shade. Right, and remember we have one layer that's going to be green, so we're pretty close to done with our blue layers. I'm going to do a nice light blue layer here at the bottom. Like our beautiful wave is crashing. Got some nice movement there. And I'll do an even lighter white color there. I just got some nice color variation just from not washing my brush in between. Okay, and then our green mountain. And we've filled in almost the whole background. I don't want to go too bright green. I could. And I think I'll bring a pinch of black in. Just to tone it down slightly. So when you add gray, that's called a tone. And that's where you get the phrase tone things down. If you'd like to learn more about color theory, I do have a course on color theory, which is a really great refresher. If it's been a long time since you have had it taught to you, or if you've never had it taught to you, and that is available on Skillshare, and also through my membership program. My members get access to all of my supplemental courses as well as some other perks. Thank you so much for supporting the channel if you are a member. And if you would like to check it out on Skillshare, I do have a link to it below. And if you sign up through that link, you'll get a free month of Skillshare. So you can check that out on there, as well as other courses on Skillshare if you'd like. All right. A little bit of variation in our green too, and I'm doing the same idea here as the ocean. So smooth in the direction of the shape type texture. Okay. Great. Okay, I'm going to grab my smaller brush now, and I'm going to just do a few little things more for this first layer, and then we'll take a break. So I'm going to grab some black, and I'm going to try to not put my arm in my wet paint. Easier said than done. And fill in my triangle. With black. I might need a dry canvas so that I can balance my hand. Sometimes it's good to take a break to let things dry, and also just to step away from your piece for a little bit, clear your head. Acrylic is almost always done in multiple layers. I put green, my arm in it, so I gotta tidy that up real quick, but then we will step away and we will come back and we will add our final touches, and you'll be amazed at how quickly this painting comes together now that we have so much filled in. So give yourselves a pat on the back for making it this far, and let's step away for a minute and we'll come back and finish everything up. All right, I'll see everyone in a few. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a dry first layer. I rinsed my brushes and got some fresh water at break as well. I also got a little bit more white on my piece of palette paper because I know I'm gonna need it. And we're gonna jump right back in. It is fully dry. I'm pretty sure everything is fully dry. And I'm going to bring my ruler back into things. And I am going to come in here to my gorgeous tower. And I'm going to add my red stripes. Now, what I'm going to do is just place my ruler down. And honestly, I think that just the width of the ruler is probably going to be just fine for a red stripe. And I'm going to do the first one from that top corner. Then I'm going to come down a little bit on that same diagonal. And we'll do another stripe. And taking that same diagonal down here. So now we have even stripes to fill in. Okay. And I am going to fill that in right now too. I'm going to use pretty much just a solid red. So sometimes glass does come in solid colors. I might add a little bit of variation, but we want that iconic red color. Well, I do at least. I love a good red striped lighthouse. I think I was sort of dreaming maybe of a place in Maine with this one. Okay, and then this would be our second stripe down here. And let's see, if I add a little bit of white for some stripiness and variation, yeah, I like it. But not blending it too much to pink, so just a little white swipe blend, wet on wet highlight. I do use a lot of different art terms in these classes, and I realized the other day that it would be very handy to have a glossary. So I made one, and the way that you can get that free PDF download is by joining my newsletter, which is also again on that website of mine, skyepratt.com. You can just click on join the newsletter, and if you're already a member of the newsletter and you want the glossary, hit me up on Facebook, send me a message, and I will send you the PDF personally. So I know I have over 500 people subscribed to that too, which is a really quick and easy way to get the tutorials each week sent to your email inbox. And I'm gonna take some white now and just tidy up these little white sections and get some paint in there, because we do want it to look painted even though it's white canvas. Don't like to leave white spaces for my paintings, really. Coming out, making sure that the shape is as tidy as it can be. Getting some paint in there, covering any little hash marks from when we are spacing things out. Stuff like that. Ooh, getting a little pink. Pretty quick and easy with the white. Okay, I'm going to mix a very light yellow. So plenty of white to make that yellow nice and opaque. And I'm also going to add a sun. I think that's an important element. And we'll probably need 2 coats of paint for this very light yellow color. It just doesn't have very good coverage power. So you can see still a little bit of purple underneath, but don't worry. We will just do 2 coats. And same idea in here. So we're gonna take that same beautiful yellow color right in here for our actual light in our lighthouse or light tower. Lighthouse tower, whatever you'd like to call it. Cute. Already looking very nice and tidy. Okay, so we have all of our shapes filled in now. And the only other thing that we have to do is finish everything off with our, what looks like lead, actually, is what you would use if you were doing an actual stained glass work. But luckily, we're painting today, so we don't have to work with lead. But we are going to make a leady color of just a dark gray. And I'm going to mix up plenty of this with a little bit of water so that it goes nice and smooth as I'm moving my brush across the canvas, and so that I have enough to go over all my lines again. And there's no exact way to do this. I again like to start from the top usually and work my way down. And I'm going to just cover those original sketch lines with our dark gray. And I am going to do my lighthouse last. I'm gonna work all on the background and the ocean. And then I'll finish off the lighthouse since there's still some wet paint over there. All right, just letting things dry. If you are painting along today, I love to see my students' artwork. It's the best part of my day, and you can share it with me and the other students by joining the Art Club Facebook group. We are over 3,000 members strong in there. And you can post your work, whether it just be from your own imagination or from painting along with me. Either way, I want to see what you're creating, and that's free to join. And the link to that is in the description box below as well. I also put things in the comment section. I know YouTube is not always the most user-friendly and as far as finding things. Like, it took me a while even to find where the description box was. So I put them in the comments too. And then it also is harder when you're on your phone versus when you're on a laptop. So I try to make it easy for you guys with it all being in the comments, all being in the description box, and then also, of course, over on my website. Nice straight horizon line. I'm just working from the top down, covering all those same lines again. And I am going to go around my sun too, but I'm just letting that dry for a minute, doing those last final touches later. All right. Going all the way over my ocean lines. Trying to make a nice tidy line. This is a good one for practicing your fluid lines. It's always a challenge to get it all even. It's all about control of the amount of pressure that you're pressing down with. In my very first painting class when I was in kindergarten, they told us, pretend like you're painting on the back of a bug and you don't want to squish the bug. So I told that to many a student since and have had the feedback that that's helpful. So just keep that visual in mind. Don't squish the bug. All right, and I just love how tidy and neat everything looks. Once we're done with this step, I like to usually do kind of one swoop, one pass with my brush, and then I'll come back and sort of tidy things up as needed. All of those first sketch lines covered with our lead gray color. Nice. All right. This is a simple one today in concept, but a little time consuming. Just like stained glass. All right. That's looking good. I think I would like to take that gray around my sun. Just creating a circle as best as I can. Doesn't need to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. Okay. Then I'm just going to go around my lighthouse shape from the top to the bottom. I am going to take that dark gray around the black. Even though that's a pretty dark color already, there should be a little bit of a color difference. All right, and these guys are just gonna be gray. I think I'm gonna need one more coat of yellow probably, as a sort of finishing touch in a minute. Lines on the outside of your yellow part, and hopefully you can see a little bit of peekaboo through. Okay. And I'm going to outline the red too. Everything is fused like glass. A little bit more gray for myself. That was a little thick, but we can slim things out again if we need to. All the way down. Really just tidies up the shape. It looks so much nicer with the outline. This is almost more of like a craft. Not using too many crazy painting techniques today. All right, I got a little thick there with the gray. So let me grab some white and see if I can tidy that up real quick. Just a little thinner. All right, just outlining my red stripes. Okay, looking pretty cute. All right, I'm going to add a few little final touches now. I'm going to grab some of my very light yellow and make sure I get a second coat of light yellow in my sun and then also in my light. Ooh, and I'm blending a little bit too gray, so I might touch that up a little later too. But you can be the judge as to how many coats yours might need. And just want to make sure that my original sketch line is covered with my light yellow. Light yellow can be one of the trickiest colors to get good coverage powder, so a lot of times you will need multiple coats. Okay, and then I think I want to add a little bit more of a streaky green. It's never too late to add to your painting if you feel like it. And I'm just gonna have a little second layer of like a light yellowy green here in the grassy part. And I think I'd like to add a little bit more of a very, very light blue. It's nice to add some nice bright highlights at the end. As your little piece de la resistance, as I like to say. Maybe a little bit of white streakiness here in our wave sections, if you'd like. Okay, a little bit of a lighter blue to help me blend. Just like the streaky look. Okay, well that looks pretty cute, and I think it looks pretty stained glass-like. Let me know what you thought of today's painting in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear ideas of other paintings that you'd like to do. It's always fun to hear from everyone as well. So thank you for the inspiration. I want to mention that I am now also offering a live session, so one-on-one with me, screen to screen. And again, all of that information that I've talked about today is in the description box below for you over on my website. And don't forget to join us over in the art club so that we can see your beautiful masterpieces. So great job painting along today, everyone. I'm proud of you.